Crisis in
Constant.
cosmology. Hubble's constant and Einstein's constant.
You still have to be more specific because those are two different dudes.
Crisis in cosmology, sir. Do you want me to post it for you?
Okay, what's the crisis in cosmology? Enlighten me.
Yeah, so the numbers that they get when they observe outside and they compare it to the theory, it's not off by a little, it's off by a lot. I'll post you a link.
What theory?
Quantum field theory predicts that the vacuum of space should eventually have enormous energy density due to virtual particles constantly popping in and out of it into existence. When physicists try to estimate this energy, the value is around 10 to 120 or 10 to the power 120 times larger than we actually observe. This is the largest mismatch between theory and the experiment in the history of science. The discrepancy of 1 to 120 is mind-blowing because in physics, even a factor of 2 to 10 or 10 is considered a big problem. So it means that either their understanding of quantum mechanics is incomplete or there's some unknown mechanism that cancels out the vacuum energy.
Dude,
so it's
hold
a
on.
huge problem.
Wait a minute. You guys jump around so much, dude. It's driving me crazy.
Answering your question, you asked a question.
No, that's not an answer to any question.
Yes,
that was right in line, bro.
That was a perfect answer. I couldn't have did better myself.
No, wait a minute. We were talking about galaxies or the known visible universe, and now you're talking about fucking quantum. That's literally as far away as you could get from two different things. Like
no, essentially, Kaku is highlighting how the discrepancy represents a fundamental crisis in modern physics. It's a major hint that our current theories, quantum mechanics, general relativity, cosmology, are incomplete and need to be reconciled with a deeper, more unified theory. So
yeah, no shit, dude. You could literally say the same thing about literally any topic of any subject. It's incomplete? Yeah. No
really?
shit.
No, it's not just incomplete. It's the worst theory in the history of science.
Wait a minute. That depends on what crazy-ass conclusion you're talking about. If you're saying that because we don't understand the quantum mechanics, and you specifically mentioned particles popping in and out of existence, seemingly, then yeah, if that was the conclusion, except that's not the conclusion. The fact that particles do fucking crazy things that we can't understand, well, that's because we don't even know what the fuck we're looking at, right? We really don't. We have little minute ways of viewing and observing some of these things. And yes, seemingly, a particle seems to be able to take up 2 points in space at the same time. Except we don't really know that that's what's happening. That's just what it looks like. So when people come to all kinds of crazy fucked up conclusions about things that we don't even fucking understand in the first place, this is why you get a statement like that. Because if that's what was occurring, for sure, and we could confirm that, well, then you might have a half-valid statement there. Except we have no idea that that's what's happening. That's just what it looks like. Because we have practically zero ways, just over 0 ways of observing that one thing. So, yeah, it is incomplete, and you have nowhere near enough data or valid information to make any kind of a conclusion about anything.
It's just what valuable.
It's just what it looks like from what we can tell right now.
We can't know anything, but we can look at it and not know anything.
No, we know all kinds of shit. Oh, you did, dude. Okay, comparing what we know about, say, taking hydrogen and turning it into a bomb, compared to trying to observe fucking microparticles on literally the smallest scale, subatomic, and trying to discern what the fuck is really going on when we don't even have a way. That's not even a comparison, dude.
Yes, it is.
There's all
it's a
kinds of shit we
comparison
know.
that I posted in the Harvard link. It's right there. Large gravitational effects, quantum field theory predicts. Right there. Read that. Did you read that?
I'm aware of exactly what you're talking about. But like I said...
But you said it's not even a comparison, but when they make the comparison, that's when they get an incredible 120 orders of magnitude. So there is a comparison. It's been made.
Based on no information. If that's what's occurring, but we don't know for sure that is what's occurring. If it was, then
you don't know that gravity works. Yeah, you don't know that dark matter really exists.
Jesus, dude, you don't know that gravity works, really?
Okay, so you do not know about the crisis in cosmology.
Do you think mass attracts mass?
Seemingly,
mass attracts mass guy, or I just want to get roped in on the conversation a little bit.
Well, you're extremely.
The mass attracts mass, or
mass
is bending and warping space-time? Just curious.
It could be, from what we can observe right now, that's what it seems to be doing. Is that what's actually happening? We don't know. See, all of these things, when you're talking about the fucking universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. So the fact that we have very, very limited information and very, very limited tools to even study some of this shit, the fact that we have incomplete hypothesis, no shit. That's literally the only conclusion you can come to, because there's no conclusion because you're still in the hypothesis. So
What do you think of that? Oh, you still gone? Okay.
what's that?
Did you have another point you wanted to make? Larry, go for it.
I think it's interesting because he's saying that we know that gravity works. We don't know anything.
I guess the question would
This
be,
is like a really strange.
To say that you know what gravity is,
oversimplification.
right, is to say that you know what its cause effect and know how to manipulate it. That's, I mean, you can't really say that you know what gravity is unless you can sort of do those sorts of things. Seems
Can you
pretty
say that
reasonable to
you
me.
go outside and you throw a ball up in the air that it's going to fucking hit the ground? Anything you throw up in the air, it's going to hit the ground. Can you say that?
Call an observation. That doesn't mean you know what it is.
Yeah,
What holds down the
wait,
oceans, bro?
Can you say that that's a fact?
What holds down the oceans?
Do I really have to say it out loud?
Well, I'm just curious. What do you think is holding down the oceans? I can tell you what I think is holding it down.
Same thing that's holding down everything else. Gravity, bro. Or at least
Okay,
the idea
so-
or the concept known as gravity. Could gravity be more than it appears to be or more than we understand? Of course it could. Of course it could.
Do you understand the law of cause and effect?
Generally speaking, yeah.
Okay.
Reaction needs to have a equal and opposite reaction. Yeah.
So okay, there you go. So I'm claiming that it's high gas pressure and low temperature that holds down the oceans. Now, if we take ocean water, we could put it in a container, right, and suck out all the gas, and it'll boil at a very low temperature. And you leave the pump on for like 3 days, it'll all boil out and it'll be bone dry, right? So gas pressure is holding down the ocean, but not only that, right, because science has never settled, it could be that temperature, low temperature, is also holding down the water. Now, you claim that it's gravity. I don't know what you're claiming that gravity is. So could you manipulate your cause and make the water go up and down like I can? But do it without manipulating buoyancy or density? Because that's my claim. So you would hold that in your experiment
Buoyancy.
as a control variable. So what is your presumed cause?
Wait a minute. Because half of what you said was, okay, if you put water in a container and you remove most of the atmosphere, then yeah, because the atmosphere has a dramatic effect on things. Transfers heat and all kinds of shit. So yeah, and then you left the vacuum pump on for 3 days? Yeah, no shit, it would be evaporated by then. So, no. Buoyancy and density has nothing to do with anything.
So when the water phase changes, what happens?
Buoyancy is how things react in a liquid, generally water. How objects, if you float in water, you have more buoyancy. If you sink, like a stone, well, you have like zero buoyancy.
Well, as long as there's
density,
medium, there's not going to be zero buoyancy.
Yeah, everything is in the atmosphere.
Right, because there's no vacuums. They
including the water.
Right. So it's fluid, not liquid. It's fluid. It could be air.
You guys just like jump around so much shit. Like,
bro, we're talking about the causal mechanism.
Don't even expand on anything that's been said. Like,
we're talking about your cause of the ocean being held down. What can you manipulate to make the ocean go up and down?
Not my cause.
Yeah, you said gravity. We don't know what that is yet. I've explained what my gravity is. What is your gravity? Because I can actually manipulate things.
You didn't explain anything. You said density and buoyancy, which have nothing to do with
when
gravity.
Water goes from liquid state to a gaseous state, what happens to its relative density?
Yeah, because it changed forms.
Right.
Evaporated.
So what happens to its relative density between the water and the rest of the atmosphere when the phase change happens? I can answer if you don't know, just so you don't know.
No, I don't understand the question, because
I'm asking,
water evaporates.
Water in liquid form
is absorbed into the atmosphere.
Right.
Yeah, and water in liquid form is fucking water, bro. What are you talking about, man?
I didn't say that it wasn't.
This is no.
So
you just said
when the water evaporates and it becomes a gas, it's extremely buoyant and goes up. That's what we call clouds, right? Right.
It's not just water, but yeah, you know that oxygen is only like 20% of the atmosphere.
I know, but when the water becomes a gas, it goes up because it's buoyant compared to the rest of the atmosphere. So when the phase change happens, its relative density changes, also known as specific gravity. And that's why I'm saying my gravity is demonstrable via experimentation. What can you manipulate your presumed cause to make the ocean water go up and down? Go.
Ocean water doesn't go up and down. Ocean water stays in
Ever
the
heard of the rain
fucking
cycle?
ocean.
You ever heard of the rain cycle?
Dude, if you're asking me if I'm aware of evaporation, clearly I am. I've already
Okay.
figured that out
Just
at least
checking
once.
that last statement. What you mean by that?
Mr. Freedom, I think you
Am I the
probably
only
need
one
to
in
ask
this room
Larry,
that none of this conversation makes any fucking sense? You did.
or just like
What are
you
you
might want to
talking
ask
about, man?
Larry, why does the water settle at the bottom of the container when
Because
you're pulling the?
it appears that all objects in a medium are seeking equilibrium, or they appear to be. That's why it would
Yeah,
collect.
sure.
Right.
And then whatever that phenomenon is would be then the question of what gravity is.
Well, if water's the
Gravity is
densest
the
thing
force
in the medium,
that seems to pull things towards the center of the Earth.
we got a fundamentalist here, guys. He thinks gravity's a force. He thinks it's a fundamental force. You know that there's no unified field theory, right? There's no unified theory of everything. String theory failed miserably. You know that, right?
Why do
Hey,
things fall
Larry.
down then?
Great.
Well,
you want to answer that?
relative density.
Relative.
Why do all the things fall down?
Right. You can make a anvil float in a pool of mercury. Why? Because it's not just mass and mass. It's mass over volume. That's what decides whether things
metal.
go up or down.
I would love to see anybody make a fucking anvil float in anything.
Okay, sure.
Are you talking about a steel anvil?
Give me like 30
A
seconds.
styrofoam anvil?
Shape it into a
No,
boat.
a steel
Just take that
anvil.
steel.
I know I got it here somewhere.
I think
Anybody want to talk about anything that fucking makes any kind of sense?
as far as gravity is concerned, I think it is a force. Like on the flat Earth, it's a force, right? I don't know. Am I wrong?
Oh no. Okay. So
You see what I
the
just
flat
posted?
Earth, the flat
You
Earth
gotta think
shit.
of it.
If we're on a flat Earth, please someone explain to me why, if you're in the northern hemisphere and you observe the sky, why do the stars
in opposite
why do the
directions?
stars rotate counterclockwise? But
Bro,
if you go in
did
the
you look
southern hemisphere, the sky rotates in a clockwise direction.
So are you saying
If
they
we were on Pizza Planet, no, it's not the same thing.
are you saying they rise in the east and set in the west, the stars? And they're all going in the same direction?
Like,
Relative to
am I
north?
speaking English here? Like,
You talk about the stars rotating in opposite directions, and I asked you directly, sir, even though you just ran away from the floating anvil. I asked you directly. Do the stars rise in the east and set in the west? You're the one talking about stars. I'm responding to you directly, and you're lost?
Stars rising in the east and setting in the west.
Is that true?
Question doesn't make sense.
Oh, so because when a flat earther says the sun, moon, and
the
stars
entire
rise in the
sky
east
is full of
and set in
stars.
the west, that doesn't make sense. Are you serious,
Both
bro?
things would be true at the same time. What are you talking about?
Okay,
of course
so the sun, moon, and stars rising in the east and setting in the west doesn't make sense.
Now wait a minute.
He's just freedom. He's just trying to find common ground
hold on,
and then
bro.
work your way
See,
up.
once again,
Freedom.
Once
He's
again,
just trying to
you
find
just
common.
went through. Hold on, man. Gosh damn, dude. You just said stars, then rising in the east and setting in the west. No, they actually do both, I guess, because the entire sky is full of stars. Then you said stars, moons, and suns. Now wait a minute. Now you just added some more shit, and you didn't even.
It all goes from east to west, though, right, Freedom?
This entire conversation doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. But
It doesn't make sense to him that the sun, moon, and stars rise in the east and set in the west.
If,
Write that down.
Even if you're on an Earth, a globe Earth, and your Earth is spinning the opposite direction. How do I explain? I don't even know how to verbalize this.
So what are you talking?
Like, even in your paradigm, they're rising in the east and setting in the west. It's all churning in that direction, right? So if the Earth's spinning if everything's static in the sky, and then you say that the Earth's spinning the opposite direction, it would appear to go from east to west. So if you said that the Earth was spinning from west to east, and everything in the sky was stationary, then it would appear as if the sky's going from east to west. Did I get that right?
No. I didn't say anything about the Earth rotating in different directions. Said if you're in the northern hemisphere, anywhere in the northern hemisphere, and you observe your viewpoint of the sky anywhere in the northern hemisphere, it would help to have some time elapse, right? Incredibly boring to just stare at the sky for.
Yeah, I get the point. Once you get to it.
The stars will rotate counterclockwise. You go to the southern hemisphere. do the exact same thing. They rotate clockwise. That
How do you guys
observation.
go about it?
Bro, can you see the side chat right now?
No.
Live stream text, yeah.
Wasn't paying
Larry,
attention
or
to any
not?
chat.
Yeah, I posted the anvil for you. You missed it. But if you scroll all the way down, you can see where I wrote where NASA said the sun, moon, and stars and planets appear to rise in the east and set in the west. So now that the government said that they rise in the east and set in the west, does it seem so strange now?
The entire planet, the population agree on a good handful of things that we can all observe. That's easily, demonstrably, provably true to anyone willing to do some relatively simple experiments.
Freedom. I think what Larry was just sort of trying to do is like find common ground and then work our way back from there, right? And he just sort of presented this, and you seem to be a little bit apprehensive about sort of comparing the stars and the sun and the moon all rise in the east and they all set in the west. Now that he's presented with,
yes, you could say that. Yeah, sure.
Okay. A NASA quote. Now you're happy to agree and you can move forward. Like, you just notice how you're apprehensive.
Like,
you felt like he was going to lead you off to the garden.
You have like a really weird perspective. I don't quite seem to. I can't.
Well, that's the same perspective. Everybody on Earth experiences sunrise in the east and sunset in the west.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So it's not strange. It's not weird. It's not abnormal to experience that as an Earthling, right?
No, not at all. That's not that's not how you started the question. You specifically said the stars.
Who cares? The whole sky goes that way, or you can pick the stars, the sun, the moon. They all go that direction. Oh, it's a different
yeah. Could I try to clearly? I think what you mean is yes, stars and the planets and the sun rise in the east, sets in the west. Yeah, but they rotate. Yes, but they rotate in different directions depending if you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere.
Right, and the sun always but that's the difference between the stars. The sun always rises in the east and always sets in the west.
Have you guys ever heard this argument? I'll just put it forward, and anyone feel free to pull me up. Mostly from the FE side. But if you just stuck a spoon, right, in like a cup of water, and you stir it around, you would see the center go clockwise around, and then if you've got a big enough pool, you'll see that the outside. So if you put the teaspoon at the equator, I can't use that terminology for globe. You have to put it in the middle between the center and the side wall of the container, and then you turn that spoon around, right? You would see on the outside of the circle, you would see it rotate slightly the other direction, and on the inside, it would rotate clockwise.
No,
the whole thing would churn up clockwise eventually. But if you were to do like a little twirl, you would see like the point from where the middle is, like where you're creating the turbidity with the spoon. You would see the spiral off in the other direction.
Yeah, that has to do with shear stress and the water and how it propagates outwards. Yeah, and then you have and then you have the wall of that container creates friction.
Sure. Yeah. Great. So
you don't know what the point is.
If you've got a central force like interacting with a liquid or a fluid, right, you end up with this like sort of whirlpool spinning off in each direction. Thus, sort of at least like I don't think that's a fully comprehensive explanation, but you're wondering why there's a vortex in the center and the outside is spinning the opposite direction. Now you've got something of a phenomenon that you can refer to.
Risky. The outside does not spin in the opposite direction.
I fail to see how that would have any relevance to anything.
It rises from the east to the west.
No, yeah, but hang on. We all agree. The sun and the stars and everything rise in the east and set in the west. Yes, but when you observe from the two different hemispheres, from the observer side, they rotate in different directions. That is a problem on a flat Earth, isn't it?
Okay.
How do you explain that?
Stop. This is so freaking simple. When you're facing north, the stars are going east to west. That means they're going to rise on the right and set on the left, right? So if you had someone standing directly behind you, facing south, they're going to be facing south, and the stars are going to rise on the left and set on the right. They're still both rising in the east and setting in the west. I don't know who told you. What? What'd you say?
No, they're not. No, they're not.
What stars are rising not from the east and setting not in the west? Do tell.
The entire fucking sky in the southern hemisphere, the sky rotates clockwise. It doesn't matter if you're facing north or south, and it doesn't matter where you're standing in the southern hemisphere. It doesn't matter what direction you're looking in the southern hemisphere. If you're in the southern hemisphere, the sky, stars rotate clockwise.
Okay, so
The
you're telling
northern
me
hemisphere, they rotate counterclockwise, and the sun always rises in the east and always sets in the west, no matter where you are on Earth.
you're telling me if I'm in Buenos Aires and I'm facing south,
Yeah.
that it's going to be going clockwise. But if I
Yes.
turn around and face north, that the stars are still going to be spinning clockwise just because
Yes.
I'm in the south? No.
Yes. Okay, try this, dude. Do you get it? Okay, I'm assuming you're in a room somewhere. Get a clock, okay? Hang it on the ceiling. Then walk around the room in every corner, in every direction. Find a place in the room where you can look at the clock and the hands spin counterclockwise. Call it your homework. When you find that spot in the room where the hands move the other direction, you fucking call me and you let me know.
Okay, so when I look south, the stars are going to be rising from the left, which would be east, right? And they would be going clockwise. But if I face north, now the stars are going to be rising on my right side and setting in the
Not
west
because you
on my
turned
left side.
around.
What do you mean no?
No.
What do you mean
because you
no? If
turned
I'm
around.
facing north, when do the stars not rise right of north? When do they not do that?
If you're okay, I just said it like 4 times already. So
If I'm facing north,
doesn't
the
matter
stars
where you
rise
are in the southern
east.
hemisphere, the stars are going to rotate
Bro,
clockwise.
not if you're
If
facing
you're in the
north.
northern
They
hemisphere, they're
rise.
going to rotate counterclockwise. No matter
Not if
where you are in the northern hemisphere, no matter what direction, no matter what cardinal direction you're looking, the sky is going to do the same thing. It doesn't matter. You can have 100 people back to back, looking and staring in every direction, and the sky to all of those observers
You say
is
the
going to
sky?
rotate.
You said the sky does a different
Sky, the
thing
stars,
between the northern
everything that
hemisphere and
you
the
can see.
southern hemisphere. Now you're saying it does the same thing.
If they're all in the fucking northern hemisphere, yes.
You're gonna have
If
to
they're
explain what
all
a
in the
thing is
southern
when you make
hemisphere,
broad statements, dude.
Okay, first of all, what does
holy
this have
shit,
to
man.
do with the shape of the Earth? Second of all, I don't know why we're arguing that stars rise in the east, set in the west. I don't know how we ever had to come
You
across
can't,
that as an argument.
because it's observable. It makes 1,000% observable sense.
After the government said
On a
it.
spheroid. No, not because the fucking government said shit.
Well, you disagreed
You
with
guys
it.
realize that
Posted the
NASA was
NASA.gov.
founded in 1958, right?
Yeah,
I've never
about now.
understood people who think that like NASA's like this global cabal that's been around for thousands of fucking years. What did NASA have to do with ancient cultures? Nothing. Ancient folk are the reason why we know the majority of the shit about the sky, not modern shit. They're the reason why we can predict solar and lunar eclipses.
Yeah,
It's
but
because
the
human beings,
Chaldeans,
as a species, have been staring and mapping the sky, seemingly all throughout fucking human history.
yeah, but the Chaldeans
We
who
just happen to
invented
be
the Sarocycle were flat earthers.
geocentrism,
No, they're flat earthers.
heliocentrism, which those models use a spherical Earth, by the way. But the question they were trying to answer was, is the Earth the center of the solar system, or is the sun? That's those two models.
So, so
Both
from
of
the dawn
which
of time, human beings
use
have
a
been playing
spherical
tricks
Earth,
on
by
one
the way.
another, right?
Say again?
Right, bro? Since the dawn of time, you said like human beings have been staring at the sky. I say since the dawn of time, human beings have been playing tricks on one another.
Okay.
So it could just be a trick, bro. It could just be another one of those tricks. It's like you
or
probably
it
think
could
that the
be
Catholics or something were trying to withhold the flat Earth, the globe Earth, whatever the Orthodox they had at the time.
What I have a problem understanding is when you have solar eclipses and you see the path of the shadow moving across the surface of the Earth, how must the moon and the sun move in relation to one another to get those patterns? They can't just go on moving at 15 degrees per hour. There must be a much bigger difference between how they move at all times to maintain to get the shadow having the path it has on Earth if the Earth was flat.
Well, let's observe what we observe, right? So during a new moon, the sun and the moon are close to each other in the sky. During a full moon, They're away from each other, right? Opposite 180 degrees. So once a day we see the sun and the moon rise, and once a month we see the sun lap the moon, correct? Does the sun lap the moon kind of like the hour hand and the minute hand? Is that correct? Is that what we observe?
I mean,
Anybody ever
I
watch the
guess you
moon
could
go
say that.
across the sky once a month and then, like a typewriter, it's back on the other side? Anybody ever witness that?
Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah.
Okay. So they're both not going the same speed. One's going faster than the other, and that's what creates months. 13 of them, 28 days.
Okay. It's like a weird way to put it, but Earth is orbiting the sun. The moon is orbiting the Earth. So
there you go with that.
Yeah, I
Newtonian.
guess you could say they're moving at different speeds, but the sun doesn't move as far as relative to the planets. So that's kind of what orbits are. So I guess you could say that they're moving at different speeds, but they're incredibly difficult to measure because those are really big fucking numbers. So, takes a lot of paper to write them out. Like, to me, the natural world
Good night,
is so
Duffy.
fascinating. What's that?
I was telling Duffy to have a good night. He's your biggest fan in the chat there.
Oh, shit, I didn't even pull up the chat. I was going to, and then I got distracted again. But the natural world is so much more fascinating and so much more unbelievable. And like, all of the science fiction writers, I like me some science fiction, don't get me wrong, but all of the science fiction writers that have ever existed put together couldn't make shit up that's more fascinating or unbelievable than reality actually is.
I agree. To tie it back
Like
together
mushrooms,
with
man.
what you were talking about. What did you say? Mushrooms?
Yeah,
I
mycelium.
can go a lot of different directions.
No. Well, I mean specifically, I'm not talking about just mushrooms. The fruiting body that are a lot of them are yummy and I look for a lot, but I'm talking about mycelium as an organism. Turns out, now we know that all the plants that when you look out the window, all the things that are alive in the topsoil, plants only generally live in the topsoil. They'll anchor in the lower shit, but life lives in the topsoil. All of those plants are connected through the living network of mycelium in the soil.
Unless you use Roundup.
Not only are they
or
connected, they
fertilizer,
communicate.
Kill it.
Huh?
Unless you use Roundup or fertilizer, it will kill it.
Well, yeah, I guess, because that shit kills everything. But what I'm trying to fucking tell you is that if you didn't know, that mycelium connects all the plants. And not only does it just connect them, it's a symbiotic relationship. And plants communicate through the living network of mycelium, a lot like humans do with the man-made internet. And if you compare the structures of mycelium to the man-made internet, it's ridiculously similar structures.
Because
And the
they were
space
both
between
created.
stars, the pictures that we can take between stars, guess what? Also, ridiculously similar structure. But mycelium is also intelligent. Like, really fucking intelligent. You know the bullet train in Japan? I can't remember how some of these guys came up with some of these experiments, but anyway. Yeah, they put slime mold in a maze. And the Japanese are pretty crafty sons of bitches, So, but they put slime mold in a maze because they were trying to figure out the most efficient way to lay out their bullet train system, right? And they were arguing. So they put slime mold in a maze and used wheat as the city to represent cities. The slime mold reached out, found all the resources. As soon as one tendril would find something, the whole thing would recalculate. It reached out, found all the wheat, and that impressed the Japanese so much. Guess what model they used to lay out their bullet train? slime molds. So mycelium is fascinating. It's the third kingdom of life on this planet. We know next to dick about. It's intelligent. It seems to connect all the plants. Plants communicate through it. So if any religious folk ever wanted to ask me about what do I think is the most compelling about a grand architect type, it's not the Bible or the Quran or the Mahabharata or any of the other ancient books. They're all, they got their place and they're like some experiences and shit, whatever. But it's the Fibonacci sequence. You know what the Fibonacci sequence is?
It's a result of toroidal mechanics.
I mean, maybe, I guess, but no, it's a pattern.
I know it's a pattern,
Doesn't
yeah,
have
but that's from where it comes, yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with Fibonacci. That was just a guy that noticed it. It's the spiral.
Yeah,
It's in everything.
1.618. Yeah, it's the golden ratio.
It's not obvious in nature, but it's actually everywhere in nature. It's in rose petals, it's in seashells. When you flush the toilet, it fucking spins in the Fibonacci sequence. Cells divide this way.
A vortex.
Storm
a vortex
rotate
comes from a
in the
toroid.
Fibonacci sequence. Our solar system spins in the Fibonacci sequence. The entire Milky Way fucking galaxy spins in the Fibonacci sequence. And every other known visible galaxy that we can observe spins in the Fibonacci sequence.
Why is this atheist teaching all these theists about
No.
sacred geometry while claiming atheism? I don't get it.
When did you ever fucking hear me say anything about atheism?
Well, the part where you said that you grew up in a non-religious household and you thought that your aunt was a religious fanatic because she had one picture of a church somewhere hanging on a wall?
Yeah. Still not one word about atheism, huh?
Okay, so are you a Satanist?
Satanist. Find a Satanist. Are you a Christian? Find a Christian.
Someone who serves themselves only and does not care for others.
Sorry, was
just described selfish. It's a little different. Or a lot different. Every human being on this planet is selfish. To some degree. If you weren't, well, you wouldn't be breathing right now. Useful to keep yourself alive. So, you can't really do that without being selfish to some degree.
Hey, so there's oxygen in the air, right? You mentioned this before.
20%, yeah. 22%.
Okay, and there's oxygen in the water, right?
Yep.
How much percentage
H2O.
is in the water? No. Don't worry about H2O, man.
H2O. Don't worry about H2O. It's fucking water, bro.
The fish aren't breathing H2O, bro. They're breathing oxygen, right? So the oxygen is in the water.
Yeah, that's what H2O means.
No. H2O is water. Oxygen is oxygen. Yeah? So, for you to think that the fish are breathing the oxygen from the water would imply that the fish are breaking apart, atomic bonds in order to breathe. I'm assuming you're not saying that, right? So there's oxygen mixed into the water.
They have gills.
Right? What's that?
No, they have gills.
Yeah,
no,
cool.
They have
right,
gills.
Okay, you said that 3 times.
Huh?
So where's the oxygen in the water?
That's what's required to breathe water. Doesn't work out so well with lungs.
No. Okay. So, but do you acknowledge that there's oxygen in the water?
Oxygen is fucking required for water. Yes.
No.
I think he's asking. Rick, you're asking for if there's dissolved. Yeah, if there's dissolved or free oxygen in water. That's your question, isn't it?
Yes. Sure. Fine. Free oxygen in water. Do I have to specify that way? Do I? What do the fish breathe? Oxygen in the water. Great. Okay. So, is there nitrogen in the water? Yes or no? Like free nitrogen in the water. That is.
Probably, along with plastic.
Okay. So there's nitrogen in the air. There's nitrogen in the water, right? So these are all 3 independent, separate properties that can all be manipulated independently of one another, right? And then all of a sudden, you evaporate you evaporate water into air, and you're creating oxygen and nitrogen all of a sudden. Like when you evaporate water, what's going on? You're creating air. Air is air. Air is just dry water in my presumption. There is this whole oxygen and nitrogen makes up 95% of the air one What a
No.
ridiculous. What a ridiculousness.
Just no.
No, just because
The
water
air is water.
in the
It's just
atmosphere.
another liquid state of water, right? It's a gaseous state
No.
of water. Yeah.
No,
And your oxygen
liquid.
and your
Wait a minute.
nitrogen are all just floating
Wait.
through those different mediums. Human beings and animals that roam the land can pull that from, like, due to the structure of the lungs, you can pull the oxygen from the air, and like the structure of the gills of the fish, they can pull the oxygen from the water. But I mean, what's this oxygen nitrogen thing? And then it's like all of a sudden they place the humidity scale all the way over on the other hand, over the other side, and they say, this is the humidity scale, and they separate it as if there's no water in the air. It's like it's an absolute friggin' like that looks like the con job to me anyway.
Rexy,
There's no water in the air.
then there should be a correlation between the amount of nitrogen and oxygen in seawater compared to what's in the atmosphere. Yes, there's
If you
about
turn-
7 to 8. Yeah,
I-
there's
I
about 7 to 8 ppm of oxygen in seawater, but only like 0.5 ppm of nitrogen. In the atmosphere, it's quite opposite. It's quite opposite, isn't it?
That's
Ways-
fine. That's fine. It can be opposites within different phases, right?
How
The,
much-
the environment
how
of the
much
water
sugar-
can have its certain sort of concoction of oxygen and nitrogen mixture, and then the air, because it's in a slightly different environment, would have a different appropriation like scale. But I mean, you're still not explaining what air is if you're just going to say, oh, it's oxygen and nitrogen, because you've got the humidity scale over on the right hand side saying, I'm water, I'm full of fucking
You say
water, bro.
air.
Yeah, but where
Don't
does the
say-
majority of the oxygen come from on Earth? What's creating the oxygen?
Plants, sure.
Organisms.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
you
Are you
say
trying to squeeze in Boomer somewhere in between these guys?
Yeah, I was just trying to
like
say,
that.
if you turn off the air pump in your fish tank, the fish die. They get the air from the bubbliness, and in waves they aerate the ocean. They don't separate the hydrogen from the oxygen. That's water, H2O.
Right.
It's aerated. So it's pretty simple. I mean, that's fourth form chemistry, if I remember rightly.
No,
Chemistry.
what do you got there? You've got a closed loop system which needs the exchange of the gas, like enough surface area to be created within the water with the gas to sort of
Hold on a minute. You're
put
like jumping.
the oxygen in. I
It's
suppose.
aerated. It's aerated. Why
Yeah.
are you overcomplicating it? It's aerated. The water is aerated. Yeah, when you see a wave froth up, that's aerated water. So the fish
Right,
breathe the air
okay.
in. That's not actually part of the H2O. It's just the oxygen that's
You're
aerated.
not
That's it.
chemically- you're not molecularly separating the hydrogen from the oxygen. That's not.
Dude, that's what you were implying. Man. I was trying to tell you how are the fish breathing with the oxygen,
No.
and you said, "Well, the water's made of oxygen and hydrogen, so they're just." You cracking up, bro?
No,
Anyway,
you
continue, guys.
asked me the question: Is oxygen part of water? I said yes, because it is. It's H2O. I just pointed that out fucking specifically.
So, what are the fish breathing?
Oxygen, but not the water.
Holy shit, guy!
That's not what. Yeah, that's not what he said, bro.
I would love a conversation that makes any kind of sense. That'd be cool.
No, you guys can have at it. I need to mic down. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah, like Boomer said, they're not breaking some molecular bond between hydrogen and oxygen. There's oxygen in the water.
No, I know, but you guys think that the oxygen and the hydrogen is the water through a molecular bond.
No,
Right? The water
no, we
molecule
didn't say
is
that.
hydrogen
You said
molecule.
fish breathing.
So
We
you
didn't say that.
You got
breathing.
oxygen and hydrogen
didn't.
in an atomic bond, and then what was it? Then the oxygen is then mixed inside of that new bond, like inside of that mixture somehow.
Well, they
So-
would breathe out hydrogen if that's the case, and that's not the case.
You know
They
what-
don't breathe out
you know what
hydrogen.
it is?
They breathe out water.
The free oxygen exists between the water molecules.
There you
Okay.
go. Free oxygen.
Yeah.
It's not
quite simple.
part of the water molecule. Nothing.
Yeah, and don't forget, it's a certain temperature that water is in that state.
Water's a universal solvent, right? And you can find the oxygen and the nitrogen inside of that universal solvent. And then all of a sudden, when it goes into the air, you guys are like, oh, no, the air is only made up of the oxygen and nitrogen. It's not made up of the water. The water is just dissolved into the air like that. It's like, no,
Where's the
dude, the
hydrogen?
oxygen and the nitrogen is actually mixed into the dry, like air is basically dry water. It's a different phase of water. It's a gaseous phase
hang
of
on.
water. And the oxygen and nitrogen
yeah,
mixed into it.
temperatures this is where temperature comes into it as well.
Air is not dry water.
Air is dry water.
No.
No.
Rick, you've got
I'm gonna get you guys.
Rexy, can you explain to me what you mean by dry water? Because I'm unsure what you mean. You mean free water molecules in the air?
Yeah, like the water cycle.
It's an excited
Like
state of water. Air is like the excited gaseous state of water, right? And
Now, hang on.
it's
Just no.
equilibrium. Yeah, dude, got it.
So it's
Gaseous state of
H2O
water.
molecules in the atmosphere. That's what you mean. That's what you mean about
I
dry
think he's
water.
getting confused with dry
No,
ice.
I'm saying water. I'm saying water is water. I'm not going to. I'm not even going to cow down to your bloody H2O is water nonsense. Okay, it's just water is
Why-
water and air is dry
So-
water.
Yeah, Ricksby, we have the water cycle.
Water is water
Right?
and
The
air
sun
is
drives
dry
the water
water.
cycle.
Dry water.
Water is
no
water. Yeah, it's not made of hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, fair enough. Is that what you believe?
Dry water. Dry
Yeah,
water
yeah,
explain what dry ice is then.
Rick
Let's,
was trying to
uh,
point out the water cycle, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you failed chemistry, guys. Rick, you failed chemistry
Carbon
in year 10, didn't you? Because if you didn't fail chemistry in year 10, you wouldn't be asking that question.
Just go read the textbook.
Thank you.
Tell me
Yeah.
I'm wrong because the textbook tells me I'm wrong. That's all you got.
Oh,
Go to the textbook.
you
Told
don't
you
need a
that.
textbook. This is like
How are you going to prove me wrong?
middle school fucking
I still haven't
Chemistry.
had anyone answer me what is dry ice.
Well, it's
Carbon
solid
dioxide.
carbon dioxide.
carbon dioxide.
But I mean, they just call it dry ice because it's a funny duddy name. It's more of a commercial name for what it is.
Yeah, it's
Because
carbon
it doesn't
dioxide, normally a gas on Earth.
It's called dry
It's a
ice
solid.
because when you're working with it, it doesn't go to wet. It goes straight to gas. So it basically means you don't get too messy when you're working with it.
Yeah,
So
What
I-
happens with so what happens with oxygen in a similar context?
Oh, I haven't seen oxygen like that, so I wouldn't really know. I'm familiar with dry ice. Like I played around
So
with
you've never seen cloud or fog.
Hold on. Wait.
Oxygen is
Dry
fog.
ice. Hold on. Dry ice, carbon dioxide at a really fucking cold temperature.
Yeah.
Oxygen, or excuse me, water. Oxygen is still a gas at that temperature. And water would be fucking ice, like as hard as a stone.
Great. So different elements, right, at different thermal excitation at the same thermal excitation, so same temperature, will sort of manifest themselves in the world in different ways. Like then one might be a gas, one might be a liquid, one might be a solid, all at the same temperature. But they're different elements, right? We can agree upon that.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah,
give us
cool,
some
no
examples,
controversy
maybe.
there. The controversy
Well, give us
only
some
happens when
examples.
I say H2O is not water. That's when you guys get all bubbly and shit. You lose
You left out the fourth
Because
phase
H2O
of
is
matter,
fucking
though.
water.
Yeah.
plasma.
You
Air
left
is
out the fourth phase
Air
of
is also
matter,
argon.
which is
Air, and
plasma.
something else. Air is also argon too. So your air mixture is just hydrogen, oxygen, and other gases. Sorry, water.
Yeah.
Air is oxygen and nitrogen and other gases. Hydrogen
you know
and
why?
water. You've mixed it up, Rick. You just didn't understand chemistry, I don't think. You should have asked the teacher these questions instead of us.
That's cool, man. Like you can just keep throwing your slings. And if it makes you feel better, right? It really doesn't
No,
hurt
it
my
doesn't.
feelings.
No, it doesn't,
really
because you
doesn't.
are actually wrong and you're trying to get around it. Look, if fish breathe and separate the oxygen, they would breathe out hydrogen.
You're wrong because my textbook said you're wrong.
No, you are wrong because you are fucking wrong, and you can't accept that. If you were to say shit, I'll go read up on that.
Bow down. Radio, cool.
No,
You've got a chemistry
because
textbook. Nice one,
you
bro.
reckon you guys say
One
this
at
and
a
we
time,
don't say
guys.
that. Rick, you making shit up. You make up what we say and we don't say that. And I do take offence to you making shit up. So, dude, just admit you don't know chemistry and move on. I mean, it's that easy. It takes a break
No, I
to
don't
admit
concede
it's
to your
wrong.
chemistry. I don't know. Yeah, cool. Whatever you want to call chemistry, I don't know it. Fine.
Correct.
I don't know it like not in the same way that you do, right? But I'm still playing around with the elements and the foundational relationship between each of these. You know, mentioning that the fact that there's an excited state due to the energy we call the thermal energy. I don't know all that stuff, so I'm comporting with that. You just got a problem. Say H2O is important. That's the only problem you've got really with what I'm saying.
No,
right?
no, it's actually your observation of chemistry is what we have the problem with,
Do
because
you
you're not
protest?
understanding it. And you're trying to use it as evidence against something when, in fact, it's not right. You can't use it because you have lack of understanding of it.
Well, yeah,
You're
because I
gonna
don't
break
agree
the
with
rules,
you.
learn them.
I don't comport with your bloody chemistry textbook, dude. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
And this is what actually makes the excitation. Like, this is what causes the conversation, right? That I'm trying to push forward. Because we have a major point of difference, but we agree on a lot of the similar characteristics. Cool?
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else want to jump in? I've talked a lot. I think someone else was sort of wanted his house to calm down too. So.
Yeah, it seems to me when you are talking about water becoming oxygen in the atmosphere, you're talking about plasma, where you ripped off the hydrogen from the oxygen. Is that what you mean by dry air?
No. Literally, like right at the surface of the water. Yeah. Well, the liquid that we call water. Right at that surface, there's a phase change that's occurring constantly in interrelationship between the gaseous level and gaseous level and the liquid level. So there's a constant exchange of molecules going on there. I don't disagree with that.
But hang on, the water gas molecule is still H2O, though. That doesn't split into hydrogen and oxygen.
I got a question for you then, right? This is like look at the characteristics of a gas bottle. You've got an LPG gas bottle, right? A lot of them, the way that you tell whether they're full or not, you just shake them. By shaking it, you recognize that part 50%, let's just say it's half full, right, is liquid, and the other 50% is gas. Now, do you think that the LPG that's still liquid is has different fundamental properties to the gas above it?
No. It's just
Right.
it's
So
just
why would
that
you
energy.
think
It's
the nature
no,
of the
it's the
air?
movement. It's the movement of. Hang on, that's due to. Oh, shit. Sorry, there are a few things you need to bring in here. First off, is the evaporation temperature, the pressure it's under.
Exactly.
That's two things. Yes, and you can do that with like CO2 as well. In fact, if you have it in a pressure chamber, you can put in dry ice and you can make it end up with CO2 gas and dry ice or liquid CO2.
I don't know what that's got to do with it. My primary point here is, right, that in the LPG bottle, you acknowledge that the bottom, like the liquid part of the LPG is LPG gas, yeah? And then the gaseous part, you still call LPG gas. But then when it comes to the world, right, the big oceans and the nature of the air above it, all of a sudden you want to change the properties of the air and say, no, the air's not water. The top is not the bottom. It's not made of the same constituent parts, right? You're going to say, oh no, all of a sudden it becomes compartmentalized into oxygen and nitrogen.
What is the pressure inside the bottle, LNG bottle? What's the pressure?
I said it's 50% full. I don't know what's how much pressure you're going to put LPG gas under.
Because the boiling point of the gas and the pressure it's in plays a hell of a big role in it.
Exactly. So what I'd say then is the world.
So because the pressure inside a bottle like a gas bottle like that is a hell of a lot higher than it is in the atmosphere. It can't expand anymore.
So it's an analogy. LPG gas is a different element.
Yeah, but you don't understand the basic physics of it. Yeah, Rick, you don't understand the basic physics of it.
Dude, I understand everything you just outlaid. In fact, I cut you short only because I actually do comprehend all of that. The thing that you're not making is that, I mean, what, you just think it's a different gas all of a sudden?
No, it's the same. I mean, water vapor, which I suppose you call dry water, water vapor exists in the atmosphere, yes, as single molecules. No problems.
Yeah, it's a water cycle.
Just on a side note, when you compress oxygen or air, what's a byproduct of that you find in the container?
Like when you compress it in, are you saying you're going to say water or something else? I guess.
Well, obviously you get. Well, where does the water come from?
Well, it's coming from the air because there's water in the air, right?
Yeah, but it only comes out when it's compressed.
I'm not sure what you're referring to there. But I maybe I kind of realized I missed my point a little bit with my last little explanation. The state of the atmosphere, like the temperature, the 14.7, I think psi, is if for whatever reason the Earth's pressure dropped, the oceans would rise, right? Like imagine you took that 50% LPG gas canister and just made the canister much, much bigger. You're going to have a bunch of gas evaporate off to fill that space until it equalizes, and then you'll find that gas will find a new level, right? It won't change much if you just don't increase the bottle by 50% because the density of the liquid. This is for whatever reason, these elements, LPG gas and water, they have sort of at certain temperatures they jump a phase. They phase change really on a specific moment. Unless you've got what am I trying to say here? It's in causal relationship to pressure and temperature. But we find ourselves in a world where the amount of water that fills it up is just right. Kind of curious in and of itself. It's not a water world or something, right? It's almost like it's been made for you.
This is how you know that the whole Noah's worldwide flood thing never happened.
No. See, that's the funny thing you said. It's the wrong way around.
Is that how you know?
You would have to have
top of the mountains?
2 to 3 times the amount of known water on the planet.
Well, what about the unknown oceans they recently discovered under China?
Unknown oceans?
Yeah.
We also have ice in the Antarctica. It's the highest continent of all continents, over a mile above sea level, and it's supposedly 1.5 times larger than North America. So there's a lot of the water you're referring to.
So in a globe, if you believe in climate change and the globe and stuff, then you think that the sea levels could possibly rise above most of the continental levels.
It could rise, yes.
Do you remember Al Gore?
Fall. Yeah.
Could fall. That's not the doomsday stuff that I was sold when I was bloody high school, man.
Holy shit, you guys! I wish you could stay on one topic long enough to fucking one, elaborate to even what the fuck you're even trying to say.
I know.
Or 2,
it's all over the place. It's like spinning a roulette wheel and just go, "Yep, we're onto this topic now."
You know.
Okay, cool. Well,
Okay,
which one do you
so
want to go back to?
water.
We'll sit on it.
Water on the
This,
planet.
this is the guy who brings up Noah's flood out of the fucking blue and then
Right?
complains about us
You know
changing
what?
the
It's so
fucking
typical,
subject.
So the amount of
Yeah, I know.
water.
I'm trying to work out the
Difference
connection
in the amount of
between
water on
Noah
the
and
planet.
whatever we're talking about.
right?
Well, the
Someone will
Glober
point
brought it
out
up, and then you amen the dude when he said you flat earthers are changing the subject too much. Meanwhile, I just brought up the Noah's fucking flood out of fucking nowhere. Hypocrisy
No, it's not
statement.
nowhere.
so true
Thanks for
there.
bringing
We're
that up.
talking
Thanks
about
for
the
mentioning
amount
it,
of
Larry.
water on the
You
earth.
got my back.
So true.
Reprimand your own
I don't
globers,
understand
okay?
any of this
Pull them into line.
conversation.
You know, they point one
We
finger,
were-
they don't even realize they have three pointing right back.
Weren't we talking about the amount of water on the planet?
Well, I find it rather curious that there's just the right amount such that we have the world that is created as it is. Right? Like the highest point
right
of the
amount.
Earth is like what 7 kilometers above sea level, and the lowest point is like 6 kilometers below. It's almost like it's right in this happy middle for some reason. That's curious.
11
Like
mile
that's
difference. 12 mile
phenomenal.
difference.
Absolutely phenomenal, right?
Compared to what?
Well,
You're
like if
talking
you're going to all the
Phenomenal
infinitesimal
for what?
possible planets that you could have been birthed onto and find existence on in the universe that you believe in, that's a pretty hectic little result, right? Pretty
that I believe.
fortuitous that much water could have been born on Mars, man. You got that little bit of water, you wouldn't be intelligent to realize where you are.
So I'm reading that the clouds are estimated to hold
Okay.
3.4 trillion
Never thought
gallons
that.
of water right now. So maybe there were less
Okay.
clouds back in the day. But right now, supposedly it's estimated to be 3.4 trillion gallons.
Yeah, it's called shit changes.
Yeah,
It's kind of
evidence
what
of the
Earth
flood.
does.
The Earth having 70% water near the surface or on the surface, that should be a clue for a worldwide flood.
God damn,
Ice in the Antarctic. Trillions of gallons in the sky.
I think he disputes the truth of that flood, though. He sort of rebuked it. So that's why I invoked then the climate change, because if you sort of believe in the scientific method and the consensus science principles, then you got to believe in climate change, and you've also got to believe in the consequences of the
believe in
Earth
science,
heating up.
bro. That's not how science works. You don't believe in science.
Is this guy preaching QE?
If I handed you a football and I told you that it was a foot long, would you have to believe me? No, you could get a tape measure and you could measure it and go, bitch, it's 16 inches.
I don't
Okay,
need
let's find out
that's
if you're
science.
verifying. Did you verify the moon landing hoax during Nixon? Yes or no? Since we're talking about verifying.
Verify the moon landing. What?
Did you verify the moon landing? That's the welcome mat for flat Earth. Have you done that at least? This is 10 years old.
Okay, so even if it was true that was all staged in a basement somewhere, how would that prove the flat Earth?
Because this is the first time in the history of mankind it was verified. Before then it was just a suggestion. So again, please answer the question. If you're engaging in good faith, have you done it? What research have you done to verify the moon landing hoax during Nixon? And how many hours have you spent? Or is this another topic that's just not worthy of your time?
The moon hoax.
So obviously, you can't name the time or the movies or sources you've used, so you just haven't looked into it. It's okay. Most globe geeks haven't done the research. No offense. We expect this of you guys.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I wish I did, though.
Dude, one sec, Freedom. If you were to look into the moon landing, right, and you found out that man's greatest achievement was actually a lie, would that not give you a little bit of pause to think that, well, maybe the globe is also a part of that lie? Like man's greatest achievement is a lie. So then what else could they make up?
Humans have known for thousands of years the size and shape of the Earth.
It doesn't answer the questions. You notice that? It's like a script. He's just reverting to the script.
Yeah.
It's just a
script. They created...
not engaging.
One sec, dude. If the sky, if the flat Earth, right, and the sky was mapped and it's in a circle and they just transposed it and wrapped it around a globe, you wouldn't know the difference, right?
Just want to point out
there's enough people on the planet today, but you would know the difference, yeah.
I just wanted to point out that Freedom was directly asked a question, and instead of answering,
there's all kinds of fucking questions that don't make any fucking sense.
Can you let me speak without interrupting?
Sure.
Don't be afraid.
But what was
of
the question I was asked?
Yeah.
About the moon?
You were asked, what are the consequences of finding out that the moon landing was fake? And do you think it could be related to the globe, right? And then you said something about, for thousands of years, we've known that the Earth was a sphere, right? Just some kind of religious mantra that you're repeating.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're off topic, right? After complaining about being on topic, you didn't answer a direct question. You did some sort of, olay, right? And you're waving like a white flag instead of a red one.
Numerous times already today.
Just answer
I'm pretty sure
question.
I answered the question.
So you started bringing up thousands of years ago when we're talking about the moon landing.
No, I said even if you could prove somehow, can definitely prove that the moon was the whole 1969 buzz and them didn't happen, and it was totally filmed in a fucking Hollywood basement somewhere, that still wouldn't have, it would have no bearing whatsoever on the
Dude,
size
the
and shape of
implication.
the
You know the first place they
No,
ever
no,
saw
one
the
second.
Earth as a globe? It was NASA turning around to look at the moon. And you're claiming that there's no implication whatsoever,
moon.
Yep.
right? But
Defending
that's the
Say
first
that
time
one
the
more
world
time.
saw the model of the Earth and thought that it was reality, that the Earth was an object floating in space. That's where we get that imagery from. And you say that those two things aren't related.
and he
Genius.
hasn't looked into it. When we ask him
Time we
the
get
right
that imagery, what are
question,
you talking
he
about?
can't even answer because he's not
Ancient
prepared for
people.
this debate.
So can I go back
no,
a couple of steps, please, Freedom? Like, can we ask that question again? Actually, you said you didn't really matter to you, right? I mean, I think the implications of the fact that they could get away with such a large is indicative that they could get away with more, right? So once you find someone to be a criminal or a liar, you can basically presume, yeah, once you've found that out, that they've probably told other lies and been more criminal activities elsewhere, right? It's a character, it's a sort of pattern recognition that you can apply.
Suppose that's true, yeah.
Cool. So
Good,
that's
yeah.
the reason why you should probably go looking into the moon landings then. Because that's like, I mean, it is one of the greatest points to actually sort of, if they can get away with a lie of such vast scale, then it would be indicative that they've got other bigger lies potentially that you need to work out.
Yeah,
We know about all kinds of fucking lies of governments all throughout fucking history,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So if you look up the documentary American Moon, it's like 3.5 hours long. There is absolutely no shortage of evidence that they faked that damn thing.
I think we did both, actually.
You think we faked it?
And we did
And
the
did
real thing, right?
No, I've heard this. This is progress. It's okay. I've heard this as well.
No, I think they faked footage in case some shit went down, and they had to cut the feed short because you're talking about 1969.
Dude, that's
Shit
straight out of
captivated
that bloody
the world,
recent.
dude.
That's that recent
Everybody
Hollywood
that was-
script. That recent
Well, hold
Hollywood
on.
script is what you're reading from right there. That's the whole plot story. Oh, just in case we fuck it up, we need to have a backup plan to fake it. Oh, we didn't need the
that
fake
was
one though.
Ron
Oh, shit, we
Howard
did it.
from that was Ron Howard from Happy Days who created that theory. I think he was the first person I heard say it.
Oh, thank you.
No,
Yeah,
I've seen some real stupid footage that was clearly the motherfuckers being pulled around by strings and shit. So I think they did that. I think we did both. One, I think that whatever it was we found on the moon, that's why we never went back. I think they also faked some shit just in case something did happen, some emergency, some bullshit. They didn't want to be broadcast so they could switch over to the oh shit channel while they worked out whatever it is that came up, right? So,
are you ex-military?
I ex-military?
You don't have to
No,
answer
he's not perky enough for that. So I doubt it.
Perky enough.
You're not perky enough, bro. You're
Okay.
actually a bit docile.
Whatever that means.
And you do have this sort of like I don't know. You sound a bit mopey. I don't know. Is it like?
Stop getting personal. It's getting weird.
Yeah.
Back to the
My bad.
Back to the television that told millions of people that men walked on the surface of the light in the sky known as the moon. That's something you saw on TV, and no one has ever experienced the Earth as a sphere floating in nothing. That's just a model. They tell you it's the heliocentric model.
Experience the Earth floating.
Yeah, you've never experienced
that's what
it.
you're doing. That's what all of us are doing right now, actually. Yeah.
You've never experienced it except for on TV.
What is that supposed to mean?
You
haven't
don't
experienced. You experience it every day.
Bro,
yes,
you
do.
Experience the Earth so you see curvature when you walk outside.
Nope.
You see the Earth as an object floating in space.
No, because you can only see 6 miles onto the horizon. What you do see is fucking elevation.
You can't experience it. Yeah, we know about mountains, volcanoes, hills, but you don't experience the Earth as a globe unless you turn on your TV.
Arguably, you experience it every time you look at a sunset.
The sunset is the Earth
floating
floating
in
in
sky.
space. That's what you
at the sky.
experience. So let me make sure I got this correct. I don't want to do any kind of fallacies. I want to make sure I understand you. So when you experience the sunset, you are experiencing the Earth as a sphere floating in space.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Is that really what you believe?
Rotating on its axis, yeah. Precession, the Earth's third motion.
Just because you can't see the sun anymore.
Can
you think that's equivalent to experiencing the Earth as a globe floating in space?
Because of how the sun disappears.
Well, from the bottom up. Isn't that how most things disappear?
No, actually.
It's disappear. They just disappear, which I've never seen anything actually just
if I
disappear.
get really far away from the Eiffel Tower, it's not going to appear to disappear from the bottom up as I get further away.
It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until you can't see it. Yeah.
Is there something in the way, Hank?
Assuming there's nothing in the way and it remains in your
I don't
line
think
of
it's
sight the entire
equivalent.
time.
I've never experienced the sunset, and through that experience the Earth as a sphere floating in space. Those two aren't the same thing.
Yeah, then show a model of how a sunset happens
are
on flat
the
Earth.
same
You've
thing.
had 10 years.
Not my claim.
We've shown you, bro. We've shown you heaps of videos before. I've seen them. Yeah, Geo showed you a heap before. You've seen like that guy like on like a trolley with a little circle. He puts his camera up against the table surface, and then he pulls it back, and then it gets occluded from the bottom up. You've seen it, mate. I know you've seen it.
Right,
You selectively
with
get
half the lens,
right?
with half the lens beneath. Yeah, half the lens beneath the top of the table. We've seen that.
Yeah, and Jesse Gordon debunked it. Made a great video about it.
Yeah.
It's like you're not.
But what does
watching
that have
the
to do with
debunked,
nobody
Rick.
experiencing the Earth as a globe floating in space? Unless they
We're
turn
all
on their TV.
experiencing the Earth.
If you start doing observations like sunsets, how I see ships disappear, bottoms up as I drive home. I coming over a hill about 1.5 kilometers away from me. There's an island about 38, 39 kilometers away. I can see the sea houses as I'm at the top. As I get back home and end up about being 7 to 8 meters above sea level, I can't see them. I can't see the flat tiny islands between us. That makes you wonder why does that happen?
Have you ever thought about the atmosphere?
Yes, and we know normally refraction lifts things up.
According to what?
So when you've observed this thousands of times over the years.
According to what?